Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 501. Mr. Somich.
Mahomes should have slid. Huzzah!
Mahomes should have. What is going on with what is Slidegate? Hi, I was all excited to say hi to Dennis because he hasn't been on in about a month. But what the hell are you talking about?
Patrick Mahomes slid with the Jets having 0 timeouts at the 2-yard line instead of walking in the end zone, so that they could just take knees and win the game. Which, by the way, is the correct choice and the smart thing that he should do and the best thing for the team. It sucks if you bet the Chiefs, but to be fair, the Chiefs never should have covered that game anyway. So if you were a Jets backer, it would have been a worse bad beat for you if you had run in the end zone than a Chiefs backer when he doesn't. But it's just part of sports betting. When you bet the favorite, their goal is to win the game. Your goal is for them to cover. Sometimes that doesn't quite align.
Yeah, it didn't align in this case, that's for sure. I didn't realize it was that big of a deal, but apparently it was.
Every single spread was decided by that play, essentially. Although you can argue there were some other plays also that mattered. Shoddy, what was the result of the head-to-head with Aaron Rodgers and T Swift? I really wish a book had posted that T Swift prop we talked about. She was on the broadcast 17 unique times. 17. Out broadcasted Rodgers. He was on the broadcast 9 times. So 17 to 9 Swift.
Well, we're still back after episode 500. Thanks again, everybody, for the wonderful comments that we got from you. It was great to have everybody on board for that one. Starting episode 501, we have, I think, 18,000 races to talk about. Yeah, there's 15 Breeders' Cup winning year and prep races this coming weekend, and a lot that happened that weren't necessarily official preps, but a lot of Breeders' Cup implications this past weekend, Mike.
Yeah, a ton of them. We had 3 classic races. We got to see multiple turf races, a sprint race that I think may matter. We'll talk about that one as well. So just a lot of very interesting races and some interesting odds moves as well. I mean, the sprint race specifically with Speedboat Beach, 12-1 morning line, goes off at 3-1. Looks every bit as good as everyone else in there. And I think he has a legit shot at winning the sprint. I'm just going to say it now.
Oh boy, hot takes already. Give us your hot takes in the live chat if you're watching us live. If you are watching on replay, shoot them in the comment section. Love to hear from you. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, Mike, plenty of fun things to talk about from this past weekend. Some things a little bit more unbelievable than others, but what's very believable, my single in the pick 5, they didn't cash, but hey, I definitely got this single home. Your top pick, my top pick, Aaron's top pick, Jared's top pick. For once, it wasn't a jinx. Slow down, Andy, gate to wire, just like what we expected. A winning year in for the Classic, so we're going to focus on the Classic division first. What do you think about this race?
I don't think there's much we can learn from this race. As soon as we didn't have Stiletto Boy go, which I thought he was just going to send from the outside gate, slow down Andy and kind of inherits this lead, and he's just kind of gone. Like the time looked fast, and we'll talk about this in comparison to the Churchill times, which are similar, but that Churchill track much slower than Santa Anita's track. So you often see horses go, high 22s, high 46s, and be able to go gate to wire. Also interesting to see all the California horses on an off track. The weather didn't quite cooperate really anywhere in the country, really, from a horse racing perspective this weekend.
No kidding.
And Santa Anita Park didn't disappoint. We had a rain shower there for about a half an hour between 12 and 12:30. They took races off the turf. The track was clearly not a quote-unquote fast Santa Anita style track, so a little bit different. I thought Slow Down Andy ran well, but I mean, let's say, who is the lowest price in the Breeders' Cup Classic in this race if it's not Slow Down Andy?
Out of this race?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 100% Slow Down. If it's not him...
Yeah, who is it and what's their price?
Maybe Defunded, who was second?
15-1, 20-1?
Buscador, maybe. People will say, they'll look at how he's constantly closing, but I don't know. That's not going to affect the wins. That's more the exotics that affects, I think. Yeah, it's probably Defunded.
Yeah, and so that's kind of my point of what's behind Slow Down Andy and why I don't feel like we learned a ton here. I think Slow Down Andy is the best horse. I think Slow Down Andy has a chance at winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. Slow Down Andy won't be able to go gate to wire in that race. He's going to have to come from just off the pace if he wants to do that. Then trip becomes dependent. Gate becomes dependent. Best horse won. I was surprised we got 2-1 on him, to be honest with you. After all four of us picked him the 5-2 morning line, I was kind of surprised we didn't see like 6-5, 7-5. So I thought there was value in the win there. I was a little bummed because I had a pretty big 3-1 cold exacta that just missed. So would have liked Senor to get it in gear a little bit faster there. Ends up running third in this race. But not much you can do about that. It kind of feels like everyone behind Slowdown Andy is kind of done here. Like, no interested in defunding the Breeders' Cup Classic. No interested in National Treasure in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Senor Buscador, if the thing falls apart, I've got some interest, but not sure that it's going to fall apart. So to me, it's Slowdown Andy is the only one I have interest moving forward, but he's not going to get this type of trip, and I'm worried that this is going to negatively affect his price.
I agree on everything that you've said. I have one question for you, because one thing I haven't been able to figure out. Senior Buscador, dirt mile or classic? What do you do with him?
Classic.
You would go classic? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, we're going to talk about the dirt mile. I don't really want to face the horses in the dirt mile with Senor Buscador, who's going to have to come from way off it on that Santa Anita dirt in that dirt mile. And that's a less advantageous distance to close at Santa Anita.
Yeah, I agree. I would go classic too, because there's a lot of speed. A lot of horses aren't even going to be in that race, aren't going to be necessarily mile and a quarter types. And, there's one closer that we saw over at Churchill Downs, and we can move over there for Saturday, race 10, the Grade 2 Lucas Classic Stakes. Clapton from way off the pace, so far out of it. Only Happy American was farther back, but he rallied up, just gets by Trademark. So the old Clapton Trademark 1-2 finish there. Chad Summers wins this race for the second time. The last time he won this race was with Mind Your Biscuits, and you picked Mind Your Biscuits to win the Classic. So are you picking Clapton to win the Classic?
Hard pass. This race was awful. I mean, Rattle and Roll could have fired, but didn't really have any kick once they asked for it around the turn. That would be the only horse I would have had any remote interest in the Breeders' Cup Classic out of this race. Clapton, Trademark, Blue Devil, no thanks. I mean, they went quick early, so this is a little tough to handicap as well. And you can see we always talk about look at specifically where a horse is at the half mile point and where everyone finishes, and 1, 4, and 2 finished last, second to last, third to last. I thought Clapton or Trademark actually ran a huge race to be able to run second in this spot, considering he was closer to the pace. It just set up for a closer, and that Clapton was the one that kicked, and so he's able to get the job done. You mentioned how far back Happy American was. He was like 25 lengths out of this race and ends up running fifth. That's how quick the pace was early. So I'm not taking much away from this. Downgrade to Rattle and Roll. Definitely not going to make any of my Breeders' Cup tickets after I saw this. And he was really the only horse in this race I had any interest in moving forward.
Chris Mallis said it best. This race, this was not a great race as far as the Breeders' Cup Classic goes. Now, I was very happy to see for Chad Summers that Clapton was able to get up there, a horse that was privately purchased from the breeder, Arundel, and Chad Summers bought him and then sent him straight to the Whitney that he was in?
Yeah, I remember this horse a lot.
Yeah,
in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he was always a late runner. He won the Ghost Zapper earlier this year, and then they privately purchased him, and he went and ran a decent fourth in the Whitney. And then he comes here and just, Chad said we were looking to see between this, the Awesome Again, and the Woodward, what's going to set up best for him. And he's like, this one's going to have a pace collapse, so I'm going to go here. That's the right move. I did ask Chad, actually, after the race if they're going to go to the Classic. I was like, I'll see you at Santa Anita. And he said, well, maybe. So they're not sure that that's where they want to go with him. This horse was privately purchased by Saudi interests. They bought him because they want this horse for Dubai and for the Saudi Cup. That is exactly why this horse was privately purchased by RRR Racing. So that's their goal. If the Breeders' Cup Classic can factor into that, fine, but that is ultimately their goal.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess if the pace absolutely collapses again, maybe, but he barely beat Trademark and really had a significantly better trip than Trademark. Now, he was a million wide around the far turn. I guess he was 8 wide, so I guess you could make a case for that. But I'll ask you the same question. Who in this race is the shortest price in the Breeders' Cup Classic? If
still Rattle and Roll, probably.
Is he going to be in the Breeders' Cup Classic? I mean, there may not be a horse from this race in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, exactly. And could you blame him? I mean, Clapton got a 99 buyer, but the rest of these horses, I think, are just and it's not a problem. It's not a bad thing, but they're not. There's B-level horses.
Yeah, well, and the thing is when we recap these races now, the sole focus is the Breeders' Cup, right? We're 5 weeks away. We're starting to get these win in your ins. It's all about not just what happened, but what could happen in the future. And when you can take any of these horses and say, okay, that was a trip. I want to use this horse on Breeders' Cup Saturday. I want to use this horse on Breeders' Cup Friday. Look, this was a positive trip. He was really wide. It was a good race, but it's just a cut below what you're going to see when it actually comes to the big dance.
Shadi, he's saying shortest price out of this race. Not we all think Archangel is going to be the shortest price right now. Well, maybe. That'd be interesting.
Lanes,
Arc, Arabian Night, Go Rocket Ride.
Would Archangel have won this race by 10?
Oh, geez, as much as he wanted to, yeah.
That would have been a beatdown.
Does my voice sound off? Do I sound a little crusty, a little gravelly?
No, you sound fine.
Doc's texting me, asking me what's wrong with my voice. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Doc's ornery. He's been ornery since last night when he wouldn't take a dinner bet.
Ooh. One thing that you could always usually bet on was Zandon finishing second. And the Woodward Stakes field was so bad that it bucked the trend. Zandon won despite him. No, I'm just kidding. Zandon, by far the most talented horse in here, I think. Charge it if he's ever got his brain intact, which doesn't happen that often. Maybe is as talented, but he always had a problem winning. And then yet here, Mike, grade 2 race, mile and an eighth, nice setup for the Classic. Even money favorite, and he wins by 4 1/4. What do you make of this?
First off, I think every single person who bet Zandon at even money should get a medal just for the courageousness to never wins and to take
Gotta
even
be
money
this
here.
time.
I'm blown away. Like, I'm not saying wasn't the best horse, but man, just even money on Zandon is it's wild. It's wild to me. I thought he ran well. A little disappointed in Charge It. Thought Charge It would be more forwardly placed, but Pipeline really kind of blew the pace up in this race. Went out there and absolutely gunned it early. I thought Film Star ran a pretty good race. I thought Law Professor ran okay. But again, it's like you look at this and okay, do I want Zandon in the Breeders' Cup Classic? Not on top, maybe underneath. No interest in anyone else in this race if they went there. There's complete Chuck 99-1 shot. And so Zandon gets the job done. Zandon's going to move forward. I do think he's an underneath threat, but I can't see him being able to beat the big boys.
Charles B says, I bet Film Star ran second at 13-1. That's a nice bet. And when he had the lead, as soon as he dispatched of Pipeline, you're like, hey, this is about to, shit. Okay. That'd be disheartening. My opinion stays the same on all these horses. Charge It when he's facing more than 4 horses going a long distance and none of those horses can make it. He's a play against. And right here, he's off the board and finishing 4th. Zandon hit the board at the Classic. I'm not I didn't watch this suddenly went, he's going to win the Classic now. But the chat is going crazy. Like Chris Mello saying he's live in the Classic. Dennis thinks he might be 12-1 in there. What do you think? What price do you have on Zandon for this? Because he's even money here, and that was a big win.
Oh man, I mean, what price should he be or will he be? I bet he will probably.
Will he be?
He'll probably go off around 18-1, somewhere in that range. I would.
You really think he'll be that high?
Yeah, I mean, look, he hasn't beaten anybody, and I guess it's Chad Brown. Maybe he goes off 15-1, somewhere in there. But what would you need to bet him to win? If I gave you $10, what number would you need? 40-1
on Zandon? Yeah, 30-1 maybe. 20-1's too low because I think I could find a better horse. A horse I like to win at 20-1 better than Zandon.
And I think the key there is a horse you'd like to win. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like him in the 3rd or 4th spot in the Classic. I think that there's definitely a shot that you could see. You could see him end up rounding out a trifecta. His A+ race isn't good enough to win if 5 other horses bring their A+ race. And so I'm not assuming all 5 are going to, but if there's 2 of them, I don't see how he can win the race. But he could easily finish 3rd or 4th in the Classic. So to me, if you do get those inflated prices, he becomes more and more interesting in an exotics perspective in those 3rd and 4th spots because they're going to pay more the higher his win odds are. Generally, you're going to see that. But to me, I couldn't get to him on top unless I'm getting a big time number. I'm talking 30+1.
He the best closer of the Classic field, Dennis asks? I think he's the most reliable.
That's the thing. He's gonna fire. I just don't know if trying to go through who is who do you call the closers? I mean, that I guess is the other part of this.
I mean,
is Archangelo a closer?
No.
You think he's more?
I call him a stalker. He usually sits a little closer to the pace. Yeah.
I mean, is Mage a closer?
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't know what that horse is going to do. So who knows?
They might change it to plotter the way he's been running. They might change that setting.
Is Forte a closer?
Zandon's a plotter, not a closer. Okay, I don't know what the actual difference is. Plotter to me is like a negative connotation, so that's why I called him a plotter.
One speed. Closer can actually. Oh, it has an extra gear. The plotter
That's
just goes
true.
one speed, right?
Yeah, and but not on the front end. A plotter does one speed from the. Yeah.
It's essentially a horse that grinds other horses down, right?
Yeah. By the way, I saw Ashley Gordon ask what was Zandon's buyer. I was going to bring it up. Thanks for mentioning it. Highest buyer of the weekend, 104 buyer for Zandon. You don't usually see inflated buyers at Aqueduct, so is that a legitimate figure?
I don't know. I mean, like this. I guess this is the other part of this whole Aqueduct card. Who the hell knows? I mean, literally, the airport was flooded the day before they went in this race. Like, the track was a mess. Like, yeah, I guess it's legitimate, but it also has to be taken with a grain of salt, if that makes sense. I mean, like, it's not that out of context for Zandon to be able to run this type of number. He's had 100+ buyers in the past, and so you look through his line and you're like, okay, like, you know, he's running 106 in the Met Mile. He ran a 105 in the Travers. So it's not like he hasn't been able to hit these type of numbers. And again, he's consistent. This is going to be his 6th of the last 7 races. Actually, 7 of the last 8 races, he's put up 100+ buyer as well. So it's not like he can't do this. It's just, I mean, does a 104 win the Breeders' Cup Classic?
It definitely puts him on the board.
Yeah, it doesn't win it. It would.
I think like a 108, 110 wins the Classic this year.
I would say you want to be in that range. I mean, maybe if someone freaks, you're going to see like a 112, something like that. But like, and that's something Zandon's never done. And now the pace may actually set up for him. I guess Senor Buscador would be the other argument for best closer in that race, depending on where he sits and what your thoughts on him are. To me, he is the most consistent horse that is going to be coming from off the pace in what seems like a race that is going to have some pace. So I think that's definitely a positive for him. Again, I think that the task is a little too tall for him to get up front.
Well, speaking of up front, let's change gears. We'll go to talk about the turf division real quick here. On Sunday at Santa Anita Park, I was there for 8 of the races. I think I saw 3 of them because when you bring a 2-year-old to Santa Anita Park and there are tunnels that they can access, suddenly, Mike, everything is about playing in the tunnels. So I did, however, get to see most of Balladeer go gate to wire in the Grade 2 John Henry Turf Championship Stakes. This race is kind of a pseudo prep for the turf race, which will be held here at Santa Anita. Anything out of this race that you are interested in at all? He won gate to wire. Master Foxhounds was in second the whole way. Maybe Speaking Scout is interesting to fill in underneath because he was able to actually close.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this is like when the Euros come over, this is going to be a tall task for any of these horses to be competitive with them.
Yeah, none of these belong.
I mean, I will say this, like, I thought it was a really impressive race from Balladeer. Look at the last couple quarters there. I mean, 23 and 23.88, 22.99. That's flying home. And Santa Anita, not the easiest place in the world to go gate to wire on the turf either. However, did get to really just kind of gallop by himself early there, going over 48 seconds to the first half. So, or I'm sorry, going 47 to the first half, but going 112 to 6 furlongs, and then really picking up the pace after that. I don't like anything out of this. I thought, the only horse I'd be interested out of this race is Gold Phoenix, who I thought just was kind of up against it from a pace perspective and didn't fire the A effort. But once you plot in the Europeans that are coming over, like he is maybe an underneath horse for me, and that's about it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything I liked either. As far as the Breeders' Cup goes, I will say, so Mrs. Magic bet on 6 of the 9 races. She didn't get any winners. She got second in 4 of them, and I was trying to make her feel better, but I was like, that's really difficult to do. That's just as difficult as picking 4 winners as picking 4 place horses, and you just didn't bet place in that case. But yeah. No, I did not help her pick the horses. She did that herself, and yes, I still got blamed because they didn't cash.
And how did she handicap them?
She asked Colson what numbers for each race.
All right, there you go.
I tried to talk her up Justique. That was a terrible play. But some of the other ones, she had Master of Foxhounds. And like the reason I bring it up is because Shoddy said I needed Master of Foxhounds. So yeah, that win bet on Master of Foxhounds would have paid for the whole day and the lemonade and all the other crap the kid did. So yeah, but he had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Master of Foxhounds didn't get by here. I feel like it really set up for him to do so. Again, that last quarter of a mile, 22.99, tough to pass anybody when the leader's going that fast. But I thought he had a pretty good shot top of the stretch to go by Balladeer here.
Pretty tough to pass Zozos in the Grade 3 ACAC Stakes at Churchill Downs, September 30th. This is a Breeders' Cup winning year, and for the dirt mile, and this horse, Mike, I thought looked very strong, a very solid effort from him. I liked the way Flo rode him. He didn't ask him for more than he needed to at any point, and then when he felt things coming, he just said, okay, off we go, and Zozos responded well. He's going to be in the Breeders' Cup dirt mile, gets a 99 buyer. Is he a legitimate threat? I think he is.
No, Magic. Like they went 40. Like they're not going 47 to the half in the Breeders' Cup dirt mile, and Zozos will have to be going if he wants to go gate to wire, which is generally what we're going to see from Zozos. He's going to have to be flying early to be able to do that. Again, like there's nothing behind him here, and we got to remember. We're going to talk about Cody's Wish in a second here. Cody's Wish is going to be in that race, and so do we really think that Zozos off this performance is going to be able to flip the script on Cody's Wish? I mean. I would not bet on that. We'll put it that way.
Out of this, I'd like to see 3 Technique go back to the sprint. I think he could be sneaky in the Breeders' Cup sprint, especially if there's a lot of speed that goes there, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But for him here, the 1-turn mile, he ran well. He closed well, to only be 2 lengths off of a gate-to-wire winner, and the horse that finished second was either second or ahead away from second pretty much the whole time. So I think he might be interesting. I think I'll wait to see the field before I poo-poo on Zozos. I think he could be kind of a Cyberknife Jr., who, by the way, Cyberknife, not good enough to beat Cody's Wish, who won the He's back. He won the winner. He back in the winner's circle, won the Vosburg Stakes on Sunday at Backwaduct, but not in a dominant fashion. Accretive is a good horse. I think he's kind of up and coming. He'd won both starts this year, but this is Cody's Wish. This is the defending dirt mile champion. This is the Met Mile winner. This is a 13-time Grade 1 winner. He did not look like that in this, and that makes me a little nervous looking for the Breeders' Cup, and he's going to be a super short price there.
He is going to be super short price, 15 cents on the dollar, able to get the job done. Are you getting a little worried about his starts? I mean, it's just this is like the 6th time in the last 10 races he's been off a step slow or a little hesitant at the break or fractious in the gate. We're totally picking nits here. I get it because he's a very good horse and he's been phenomenal over the last 2 years. But this gate thing is getting me a little worried, especially when you're getting such a short price on him.
Yeah, what kind of price do you think he's going to be? Because Doc's saying the same thing. He'd be very afraid to touch Cody at the Breeders' Cup.
I mean, 2 to 5, 3 to 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess it depends. I mean, Saudi Crown also with Brad Cox. I think this furthers, their decision to go classic with that horse. If he was in the dirt mile, Cody's Wish's odds would be a lot better, but I don't think he's going there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting too, because then you have, Brad Cox controls the speed of that race, but we'll see who exactly decides to sign up in that spot. This wasn't Cody's Wish A+ effort, and that definitely makes you a little bit, hesitant. But the breaking thing, and I agree with what Chris says. I mean, I don't love betting 3 to 5 shots that break slow against legit horses, and this is we've been talking about how a lot of these fields haven't been great. Look, this was a 1-horse field in a lot of ways, and today it didn't matter that he broke slow. But if he breaks slow on Breeders' Cup Saturday, that's a much, much bigger concern, because you're going to have a lot better horses who are going to be out in front of him that he's got to go then run down. So his tactical speed, I think, is one of his best assets. And if he loses that because of slow breaks, that makes it a lot more difficult to fire at Cody's Wish when he's sitting at 2 to 5, 3 to 5.
This is one of those times when we talked about before where bets that we'd like to see in horse racing to make it better. Chris Mello says, I'm betting a small fortune against Cody's Wish in the dirt mile. If there was a prop, like a yes-no prop on Cody's Wish, which, by the way, I don't know how it would work when you have more than 2 options. You might have a field of 10, for example. But if Cody's Wish is 3 to 5, 2 to 5 to win, what would, Mike, what would the Vegas odds be for him to not win? What's the flip bet on that? What kind of odds would you get on that?
Well, what they would do is they give you the same price on the win. So, let's say he goes off at 2 to 5, you're looking at minus 180, right? So we'll call him minus 180 to win. But then if you flip it around, they're going to give you plus 130 on the rest of the field. So they're going to juice the bejesus out of it because you get the rest of the field. versus getting just one horse, right? So that's how you're generally going to see those. And some offshore books do offer those for the Breeders' Cup, specific when there's a heavy favorite like this, they'll offer it, but they'll offer it at the exact same price as that horse to win. Because the idea is that in a fixed odds market, if you can get, minus 160 in one place and minus 180 in the other, why would you ever bet the minus 180? It'd just be dumb. So they're going to give you the exact price on him, but then they're going to, most of the time you're going to see 20-cent lines, 15-cent lines, 10-cent lines in some cases. In this case, it will be a 50-cent line because you're getting the rest of the field versus the favorite. And because of that, they're going to really make you pay the price if you want to take the plus money.
If anybody's interested in booking that, let us know. We'd love to get in on some of that action, I think.
I'll let you know. I mean, there were offshores last year that offered it. I know that.
Okay. Well, shit. Stay tuned. That's why you got to follow the Magic Mike Show. We're going to come up with that info. And trust me, as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup, we'll have plenty of prop action we'll be talking about. Some more races to run through quick. Saturday at Santa Anita, the Grade 2 City of Hope mile race on the turf. And Hong Kong Harry wins it for Phil D'Amato. No shocker there. Even money favorite is D'Amato. 2 turns on the grass. But the reason I bring it up is he wins. You think maybe the turf mile will be where they go. He's not Breeders' Cup nominated, and D'Amato said they're probably just going to skip it in favor of the native diver. He narrowly beats Astronomer, who was trying to go gate to wire. Do you like him to possibly go to the turf mile twist, or should these horses just stay facing California horses?
Well, we're real quick before we jump off this. I didn't even think about doing this. I've just checked the futures market right now. So there are fixed odds offering. You can get Cody's Wish plus 175 right now. So that would be what? 8 to 5, 9 to 5 almost?
Just a tick under 9 to 5. Yeah, nickel under.
So if you're interested in Cody's Wish, you're not getting 9 to 5 on race day. I will tell you that much.
Yeah.
There are places that you can play it right now where you have fixed odds that you're sitting at Cody's Wish plus 175. It's not for me because I don't love what I saw from Cody's Wish, but I there is some value there if you were able to then turn around and bet the field at a plus number against him later when there are more props that come out for the Breeders' Cup. So you may be able to end up with pluses on both sides if you're interested in tying the money up. But yeah. Right now, we're plus 175 for Cody's Wish. Perfect.
Well, then you can hedge if you want to bet Cody now and then hedge against him come Breeders' Cup, because I agree with Mike. He definitely won't be close to 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. But anyways, as far as the City of Hope mile goes, anything that you like out of this for the turf mile, or should they just stay in California?
I mean, Twist would have been the only horse I was interested in. He didn't run nearly as well as I was hoping. Hong Kong Harry tripped out, got a perfect trip, was able to get the job done. Never really even got asked, to be honest with you. It was more of a hand ride down the lane than like ever really going after Hong Kong Harry here from Juan Hernandez. You mentioned it. D'Amato already said he's not going. I agree with that call. Like this, again, is going to be a European-dominated race, so I'm not really interested in any of these coming back.
One horse that Juan Hernandez won on that is going to the Breeders' Cup. Going back to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, my boy Dr. Shivel, and hats off to you, Mike, just kicked off the late pick 5. And you went with Dr. Shivel. I went with Speedboat Beach, although I think you might have had Speedboat Beach as well. Oh, there you go. That's right, you did. Boy, what a battle this was. This is a race we can probably dive into a little bit. Not an official prep for the sprint, but the top 2 horses for sure I think should go. Fort Bragg is interesting if he goes, but maybe you're better off saving him for like the Malibu. But talk to me about this race, because that head-to-head battle in the stretch, man, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was interesting. The post positions, I think, actually decided this in the end. Dr. Shivel goes inside Speedboat Beach 3 wide the entire race, and this was a bob at the end. I mean, I guess there wasn't really a bob. Speedboat Beach never got by, but Dr. Shivel always had that little head-nose advantage. I think if you flip them, Speedboat Beach beats Dr. Shivel in that race. That was a pretty good race back, a return race for Speedboat Beach. And he ran to those workouts that we talked about where he had been outworking Fort Bragg and ends up finishing in front of Fort Bragg here. I would expect both these go to the sprint. Right now, if you look at the sprint odds, you've got Elite Power plus 175 as your favorite. Echo Zulu is 6 to 1. Gunite 7 to 1. Dr. Shivel is 10 to 1 right now, and we don't have a number on Speedboat Beach. It'd be interesting to see if there is one offered. Because if he pops up at that 20 to 1, 15 to 1 mark, I'm probably playing Speedboat Beach in some way, shape, or form. Because second time off a layoff, you'd expect a much better effort from him. Arabian Lion, pretty disappointing for the second straight race. However, I guess you could argue for the second straight race, the slop was a problem. The track was a problem. So if he hates the off track, you could make a case that Arabian Lion's going to bounce back. I don't think Dr. Shivel can beat Elite Power. I do think there's a world Speedboat Beach can. Yeah, rating was a choice there too, by the way, because he could have cleared that field and didn't.
My goodness, what was Victor doing? I was like, Victor's usually the one thing you're like, Victor, just it's a speed horse, just go, and he'll let it carry him. And he was actively choking Speedboat Beach back on the outside, and I'm like, no, well, okay, so that horse is definitely not winning. And then suddenly in this stretch, it's going, and I'm like, Jesus, if you would let this horse just run early, nobody's catching him.
Well, it would have been interesting too, because the trip for Dr. Shivel would have been completely different as well. I mean, if he crosses over on the 2 there, then the I don't remember who it was. What was it? Sir Atticus, the 7.
Yep.
Then the 7 sits outside, and Dr. Shivel essentially has to wait for a hole and try and go through the 2 path, or let them go by and swing around 3 wide. And all of a sudden the script is flipped on how this race is run from Speedboat Beach and Dr. Shivel's perspective. So pretty surprising Speedboat Beach didn't go. I still thought he was going to get by when we were like midway through the stretch, and he, Dr. Shivel absolutely dug in there and held him off. I like Speedboat Beach out of this race. I liked him going into it. The fact that he took so much money, I thought was a positive sign, going from 12-1 morning line down to the 3-1 number. And if you look through this, you're like, okay, this is Dr. Shivel's race. That's about what he runs. Speedboat Beach's upside is still exponential compared to everybody else. In this race, because you now, that was only his 5th start, only his 2nd start on dirt, first start off a long layoff, like
10 months.
He could easily improve next race out. And I do think, I don't know, maybe you're not going to get a price on him because he was 3-1 in this race, but with Elite Power in there, he's not going to be the favorite. And if Dr. Shivel's 10-1 overseas right now, you have to think you're going to get somewhere around those type of odds on Speedboat Beach as well.
Speedboat Beach 10-month layoff comes into this and does that. Juan Hernandez, I'm sure, will stay aboard Dr. Shivel. It's probably gonna be his last career race, the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but it's at his home track. It's a place that he loves, and he's running out of his own barn. But give me Flavian Pratt on Speedboat Beach, and that's your Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. Like it's so hard to see him.
It will.
Like someone's gonna have to go suicide with him to get him to stop him.
Well, couldn't Echo Zulu do that though?
She could. I'm not convinced that she goes to the sprint, though. Like,
yeah.
What do you really have to gain from doing that? Like, I know the purse is of $2 million versus $1 million, but she's got a shit ton of money earned already.
What about Gunite?
Gunite's but Gunite's not a speed horse. He's not going to go out there and not like Speedboat Beach. Like, he'll sit off of Speedboat Beach.
Yeah, I think the draw matters too. Like, if Speedboat Beach draws the 1, 2, or 3. Watch out. Yeah, like watch out. You're gonna see you're gonna see a little bit giddy up in that first quarter, and then it's a question of whether or not you can hold off a horse like Elite Power in the last 16th of a mile, because Elite Power will be coming.
Chris does bring a good point. She's better at 6th, and that is the one thing to consider. Thank you. I did not mention that. 7 furlong distance for filly mare sprint, 6 for the boys. That's why they did. Was it Frank's Rocket? There was a filly just not that long ago that went to the boys instead of the girls because of that reason. So. Yeah, that's fair. Very excited, though, for Dr. Shivel. Glad to see him get the win and show that kind of heart. That was a fun battle, too. A couple more races to cover real quick. The Eddie D Stakes, part of the late pick 5. This one was a classic Magic versus Mike battle. Laneway got the better of Bran in this battle here, but taken off the turf, off the downhill turf, they went a flat 6.5 out of the chute. The Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint this year is not down the hill. It's 5 furlongs, and Mandela's already said, I wish it was longer. I don't think 5's his best distance. So, Laneway hit the board, off the board. Trainer doesn't seem that confident.
I would probably lean off the board for Laneway. This was also, if you could draw a line where you want to go around the racetrack, Laneway would have drawn the line that he actually got to travel.
Oh boy, he had a good one, didn't he?
Just was able to sit right behind the speed, tilt out to the 2 path, and go. Bran had a little bit of trouble. Don't think it mattered in the end, but this was exactly what you want from Laneway's perspective. I mean, like I don't want anything out of this race, to be honest with you. They didn't go that fast. They weren't impressive late. I mean, like 23.39 is slow for an opening quarter mile in that Santa Anita turf. Now, again, it did get rain. We didn't have a ton of turf races that day, so we can't like completely compare it against other turf races we've seen at Santa Anita. But generally, you're looking at like high 22s at the slowest for a 6.5 furlong sprint. So it kind of crawled that first quarter, picked it up a little bit in the second quarter there. But I mean, these are just a couple low, right?
Yeah. There's nothing I really want out of this. We'll see.
Let's see.
I never was a Brand fan. This didn't change in my opinion.
None of these horses are listed in future odds.
Yeah, well, my kind of
there you go.
says something.
Top
Yeah.
three all international horses, which is kind of surprising for a turf sprint.
Boom, Casa Creed, take him at odds. There you go.
Fourth, 8-1.
There you go, 8-1 on Casa Creed. Sign it up. Definitely didn't get anything close to 8-1 on Adair Manor. She wins the Grade 2 Zenyatta. Yeah. Anything to make out of this, really?
Looking forward to betting against her.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to fade the California fillies again in the Breeders' Cup. I still believe there are a couple of the East Coast fillies, and whoever ships in as well. We've seen a Japanese horse win this race before too, so we'll see what happens here. But I think Adair Manor is one of those you want to be betting against come Breeders' Cup.
I still say I said this after her last race too. Desert Dawn's going to hit the board. She's going to get like third or fourth, and you fill out your Trier Super at a huge price. So watch it. She was completely up against it, had no chance in here. And that, did what she could. As soon as she got into second, Reese Billy looked and was like, "Oh, he just stopped." He's like, "Okay, we're not catching that. I'm clearing second." So not worried about the gap there.
This was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite races to bet of the entire weekend. Which sounds silly, but that 1-3 exacta was probably the easiest bet you could.
Oh yeah,
all weekend.
It was a great one.
Almost even money on it.
What did it end up paying? Exactly, yeah, $1.80 for $1.
Yeah, which sounds like nothing. It's like, man, but if you bet it enough, then it's worth it. And it's like, yeah, this is clearly the best.
Better than
the second best horse.
Better than 10 cents on the dollar, 1 to 10 on her. Yeah. The Chillingworth. This will be the last division we talk about. Filly and Mare Sprint. The Chillingworth Stakes. Huge surprise. Ida going for her 8th straight win, and he gets stopped at 7. A 90 buyer for Kirsten Bosch. They're going to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, which will be over this same course at just a half a furlong farther. Any interest in her maybe underneath? She seems to be kind of improving.
Yes, actually. I thought this was a pretty good race. I like the fact that she was able to come from off the pace. We've seen this race play toward horses coming from off the pace a lot because it's a lot of sprinters that are in a 7 furlong race. And so you generally see a pretty fast pace. They kind of came home a little bit slow, but still not an overly concerning thing. I mean, you look at the times there, the splits, 22, that's fast. 25, that's slow. 6.57, that's not exactly quick either. But looked like clearly the best horse from this race. The price was right. You got $15. You're going to get a decent price again. Probably an underneath horse versus on top, but definitely someone that a monster number because you're probably going to get 20-1, 25-1 on this horse at Breeders' Cup Saturday. I think that you're going to see. You're going to see something here where you're going to get a decent price and you're going to be able to use this horse underneath to fill out tries and supers, and she has a logical shot of being able to run into it.
Well, this one is, I saved the best for last. I'd love to get your opinion on the Gallant Bloom Stakes. Carmel Swirl gets the win via double disqualification. And the first time I watched this, I thought, okay, I think that it was correct to disqualify those two horses. I thought the runner-up should have been disqualified for interfering with Beguine, who finished 4th. And I think the only difference is I would have, placed her 4th instead of 3rd. But what did you make of the double disqualification? And do you have any interest in Carmel Swirl or anyone else out of this?
So this was tough. The 2 should have always come down. I thought the 2 interfered with the 4 and the 1. So because of the 2 just kind of came in the entire stretch, and every time she got a half length ahead of someone, she just cut in and was then cutting off horses as she went. I don't think the 6 did much, to be honest. Maybe came out a half path, but the fact that the 2 came in 4 paths was the reason that even mattered. If the 6, if the 2 and the 6 had run straight, the 6 never comes down. Because if the 2 had run straight, the 6 never comes down. Because the 2 came in so far, that half of a path matters, right? And so that's kind of tough. But here's the other issue. This should have been 2-1. If the horses just all ran to their form, right? I think that Sterling Silver wins the race. I think Carmel Swirl ends up running second. And I think there's some part of the stewards are like, well, we don't want to reward Heartland with the win when it was clearly the 3rd best horse. But that also kind of is like, but the Sterling Silver was the best horse, but clearly cost Carmel Swirl, or Sterling Silver was the best horse, but cost Carmel Swirl a placing. And in New York, that's a reason to take a horse down. Now, I was surprised that no one was put behind the 4 because I thought the 2 interfered with the 4 too, and this was an absolute mess. I don't disagree with the decision to take the 2 down. I kind of think the 6 probably should have stayed up because I don't think the 6 was necessarily guilty of anything but coming out a half path, which again wouldn't have mattered had the 2 just ran straight. I think 2 definitely interfered with the 4. I think the 2 definitely interfered with the 1. And it's unfortunate if you bet Sterling Silver, because Sterling Silver was the best horse in this race. If she runs straight, she wins. So pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was no decision that was gonna make everybody happy, but I thought that they did the best thing that they could have. Maybe sit the 6. That's the one where I think it's a little questionable about it. And I think what you said is exactly correct. If the 2 runs straight, the 6 coming out that little tiny bit doesn't look like anything.
No, third, which is I kind of think why they ended up with the placing they did. I think this would have been 2-1-6. And with the 4, I guess you could make a case may have run better, but it was going to be 2-1-6. So once the 4 was pushed back, had they all ran in a straight path. And I think the idea that, and this is something the stewards, I mean, this is why it's so hard to like try and get inside the brain of a steward. I think the reason the 6 came down is because the 6 was never winning the race. And so they put the 1 up because the 2 interfered with the 1, and the 1 would have beaten the 6 had the 2 not interfered with the 1.
Car Ramrod says, Irad gets that half path every day at Naira, and Doc says, if Irad rode the 6 or 2, no change. Well, you know what? He rode the 3, and she sucked, so it didn't matter in that case. But you guys are probably right about that one in that situation. But yeah, Philly Mare Sprint, a lot of it relies on what Echo Zulu does. I think we both love her if she goes to that race, but maybe she goes face the boys. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Sterling Silver ends up in the Philly Mare Sprint, I'm a little interested. I thought that was a really good race, and I thought she was the best horse in that race. And you're going to get a decent price. You can come from off the pace. You're going to need some pace for Echo Zulu, but at 7 furlongs, a little bit more of an issue than 6. Like there are some chinks in the armor there if you're able to find someone that you like and you think Echo Zulu is going to get pressed at all.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Magic Mike Show over at racingdudes.com. Because of all the crazy-ass weather that we had this week, the Pilgrim Stakes and the Miss Grillo Stakes are now on Wednesday at Backwood. Jared Welch did the previews for those that are Breeders' Cup winning year-ins for the Juvenile Turf and the Juvenile Phillies Turf, so go check those out. Galabrand is running back. Very excited to see her in the Miss Grillo. It's, her With Anticipation Stakes win, flattered by Carson's Run coming back and running very well at Woodbine, Mike. So those are exciting races on Wednesday. We also have analysis of all of the Breeders' Cup, the official Breeders' Cup prep races over at racingdudes.com. And then, of course, we've got 15 winning your ins between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So make sure you are subscribed to youtube.com/racingdudes. We're doing previews for every single one of them. It's going to be a rough week. If you think my voice sounds rough, well, actually, I'm not going to be the one talking in most of them, so I guess that'll help save me a little bit. I've been sick for 2 weeks. I guess that's why my voice is a little off. The doc made me very self-conscious about it now.
I mean, there's a little bit of more graininess to it, but it's not, I've done 501 of these with you. I'm kind of used to all the different changes that we've had over that process. I think we've both been sick for quite a few of those. I'm excited to get Keeneland back, man. Can we just get a weekend without a train wreck? Because it feels like every single time we've had these big cards, and again, like you can't control the weather. I'm not mad at Santa Anita for everything that happened. Aqueduct, I got some thoughts about. We could have done a lot better job than what we did this weekend, and we'll just leave it at that, because it's just the debacle.
Canceling a race the day ahead, but then just like still having that hour gap. You didn't think that was the correct decision? And
I don't want to destroy Naira for it, because I'm sure they had regulatory reasons why they couldn't move the times. So that's why there was an hour gap. But just move the whole card back. You don't need to run this that day. Just figure out a way. If you were approved for Sunday racing on Wednesday, why don't we figure out how to get a Monday approved, and we just run Wednesday through Monday for a week, give the track 3 more days and not screw everyone over. No one's going to Aqueduct anyway. You don't have anybody on track, so don't worry about that. It's wild to me that we didn't get a little bit more creative in the solution. And the solution was, let's force a day down everyone's throats on Saturday or on Sunday. And then let's come up with this wild solution to take a race out. So there's an hour gap. And oh, by the way, just so that no one gets confused, let's cancel all the multi-race bets through it, which are still listed everywhere. I can't. It was ridiculous, man. There was still a better decision that could have been made there. And that is frustrating. I got to give Santa Anita some credit, at least. They took 3 races off the turf before the first pick 5, and then gave everyone 10 minutes at least to try and re-handicap those off the turf races. So credit to them. It would have been nice if they also had the scratches for those races in that 10 minutes, but beggars can't be choosers in that spot. At least they gave us some time versus loading everyone immediately into the gate. So that's appreciated as a better, but still, it's like, It's just tough, man. It feels like horse racing hasn't been able to catch a break for I mean, non-self-inflicted wounds for a month and a half, right? Self-inflicted wounds, that's not really catching a break. It's just do better. So it's just been a stretch here. We've consistently had bad weather. It's forced some bad decisions, and no one's really learned from that. And hopefully people will. Hopefully we just have a nice sunny weekend across the country. There's no issues at Aqueduct. Keeneland goes off without a hitch. Santa Anita is beautiful, and everyone's happy. We just get us one weekend where everyone's happy. That's all I'm asking for.
Well, listen, it's going to be a beautiful day outside. We're going to end the show because I'm going to go outside and enjoy it. You're probably going to go do the same with your family. Thank you so much for enjoying this time with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure before you leave, like the video, subscribe to youtube.com/racingdudes. Rodney says, damn, I'm late. What did I miss? Rodney, we found a spot where you can get Speedboat Beach at 50-1 and win the Breeders' Cup. I'm kidding. Rodney's a huge Speedboat Beach fan. I thought I'd tease him on that. But good to see you. Better late than never, Rodney. I know he was hoping Speedboat Beach would win the sprint, but you got to be proud of how he looked. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. We'll be back on Thursday covering Keeneland's late. Yeah, wait, do we want to do the special bet that I had sent you? It was like the pick 6 between Santa Anita and Keeneland.
No, let's just do Keeneland.
Okay. Keeneland late pick 5 on Thursday. That got shut down real fast.
Yeah, let's just do Keeneland.
Fine. All right. Well, the card's already out, so go study for Friday and Saturday at Keeneland. We'll be back Thursday, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific to cover the late pick 5. And, of course, join us every Thursday through Sunday for Dudes Who Bet Daily. Oh, yeah. Also forgot. We're doing a betting Bible this week. So the Coolmore Turf Mile Betting Bible at Keeneland. Wow. That's a mouthful. We're going to be doing that one. If you want to get the betting Bible, or if you even want to get the Breeders' Cup betting Bible, here's what you got to do. If you do it now, between October 4th and October 7th, if you become a premium subscriber, you're going to get 3 wagering guides absolutely free. You get the Coolmore Turf one, you get the Breeders' Cup betting Bible, and then you get the 14 trends of the Breeders' Cup. If you do it after the 7th, so after the Turf Mile, if you're interested in this guide, you're still going to get those other 2. Those 2 have a value of $90. The premium products start at $90. So boom, you're going to pay for it yourself right there. So go check that out. Check out the Somobombs. I know Mike is super excited to go price hunting at Keeneland. You can already hear it in his voice.
Yeah, no, I love me some Keeneland, man. It's still the biggest score of Somobomb's history there. I think it was 15,000 that we cashed. I think we took down almost 40% of the pool that day. That was a lot of fun. Like going back to Keeneland. Love the big fields, the big prices. It's feast or famine there, which is the one frustrating part about Keeneland. Like, you need to hit one and you're good. Unlike some other places where you got to be consistent, because you got these $2,000 ones, $1,500 ones that consistently come in. At Keeneland, you can get the 5-figure scores because of the fields and the fields and the prices that you have run in there. So a lot of fun to take a stab at it. Hopefully we can rocket this meet.
Yeah, if you Frankensteined our ticket together, you would have hit at Santa Anita. I was the 2 races that I lost, Mike. I ran second in both of them. I was so mad about that one. Oh well, we'll have some better luck on Thursday.
Yeah, it was a little chalky. It was gettable, but it would have been tough to make it overly profitable if you got too spready. And I think we both kind of decided to take stands in certain races. Yours worked out, but couldn't fill out the rest. Mine didn't, and filled out the rest. So what are you gonna do?
We'll see what singles we take on Thursday. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.